All right, it is noon. Time to begin. Thank you for showing up. Again, this is the Wish Working Group. We've got about an hour. We're going to spend a lot of time on GitHub. We got some new things here. The new Note Well. It's changed a little bit. And I should note that this is the IETF Note Well. It's a reminder about the process and policies, including about conduct, privacy, and intellectual property rights you agree to follow when you participate in the IETF. Please read it carefully. You're encouraged to read the source documents to which the Note Well refers. If you have any questions, please talk to us or an area director. You can scan the QR code and get a link to a bunch of the other documents. This is new. They said we should linger for like a minute on here, so I don't see anybody pulling out their phone, so I think we're probably going to be all right. But we'll proceed. Okay. Meeting tips. Again, please make sure to use the on-site tool because we're going to use that for the queue so you can enter in and out. And if you're remote, again, use the queue, please. I'm Sean. It's Niels.
Hello, I'm Niels. Thank you for showing up.
And without further ado, I think we're going to jump right into the GitHub repo because we have one draft that we're working on, and we're basically in the process of just trying to knock it all out. But before we go too far, is anyone willing to scribe? All right, Niels and I can pull something together. Now I'm going to hand it over to Niels.
Actually, question, Dan, do you want to share yourself or should I do the share the screen for the GitHub repo?
I can share. Someone might have to remind me how. I pressed the request screen share button. All the slots for the requested media are already taken.
Yeah, so I turned it off, so try it again.
I had like a permission thing. There we go.
It's funny because I see it. You got
there.
It.
Yeah, got it. Do you want to screen share? Yes. I want to share a window. Share that. There we go. Magic.
Right.
Sweet.
This WebRTC magic. Okay? So first, apologies. I should have got quite a lot of this done a few weeks ago, but personal life kind of happened. So this has all been done over the weekend / today because I wanted to get it done. Right. So where are we? Let's start at the bottom. Clarify error handling for post and patch requests. So this is as a result of feedback from Lorenzo. Lorenzo went and implemented server sent offers using the draft that we released after the last meeting. He came away with some queries about the use of 406. When we should treat 406s as 406s, and when should we treat 406s as server sent offers. So let's go back to that pull request. So let's take a look at the description that I wrote so that we can clarify everything. The specification had ambiguities in error handling that could lead to implementation confusion. 406 not acceptable ambiguity. The status code 406 is used for server sent counter offers, but could also be interpreted as a general not acceptable error when clients send invalid content. This created ambiguity about whether a 406 response should be treated as a counter offer, flow, or an error condition. And then I think this was also an issue in patch. Vague error codes for post requests. The specification stated that post requests with wrong content type or malformed SDP should be rejected with an appropriate error response, but didn't specify which error codes to use. We've added, I think in this, we'll take a look at the code in a sec. I think I added use of 415 and 422 off the top of my head, but also tried to let to not be too specific, because I know that we had issues with the HTTP team when we were being too specific in WIP from memory. So I've tried to be specific, but not too specific. And then patch request error handling gaps. So patches are used for trickle ice and ice. The patch section didn't clearly define what error codes to use for the wrong content types. Oh yeah, you can also use patch when you're doing server sent requests. So using the right error code depending on the content type. How to handle SDP received via a patch when the session is already established, and what to do with other unexpected payloads. So let's take a look at the code. So
And could you increase the zoom in font size?
Is that better?
One more.
One more? Is that okay?
It's even like the screen is not very big here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
I can also drop a link.
So I can make it a bit wider so that it fills the area.
Yeah, that would help. That helps actually. If you make it even wider, I mean, there's more space to left and right.
So if I do that and then do that.
Yes.
Good. So what did we change here? We just clarified that we should error if the SDP is malformed or does not conform to JSEP rules for initial answer, then the web endpoint must reject the HTTP patch request. That was our first change. Second change was web players must interpret a 406 not acceptable response as a server sent counteroffer only if the response includes a content type of application SDP and a syntactically valid SDP offer. Any 406 not acceptable response that does not meet these conditions must be handled according to generic HTTP semantics and must not be interpreted as a counteroffer. If the HTTP host to the web endpoint has a content type different than application SDP, the web endpoint must reject the request with a 415 unsupported media type and must not include an SDP in the response. This is one of those very specific, hopefully the HTTP people won't get too angry with us in specifying things. If the content type is application SDP, but the body is syntactically invalid or does not conform to JSEP rules for an initial offer, the web endpoint must reject the request with an appropriate 4XX response. A 406 not acceptable response is reserved for the server sent counteroffer mechanism and therefore must include a content type of application SDP and a syntactically valid SDP offer. A 406 not acceptable response that does not meet these conditions must be treated as an error and must not be interpreted as a counteroffer. And then we get into the patch handling. Do you want me to read through everything? So the main,
No, I think we can. I mean, so far sounds good. I don't know if anyone has objections here in the room.
So again, the main change is just adding in this 415 unsupported media type. And I think so we should probably talk about this as well. So 415 is exactly the same as posts. We also handle 422 unprocessable in patch. So let's take a very quick look at this. Use of application SDP in a HTTP patch request is only valid when replying with an SDP answer to a server sent SDP counteroffer, and only until the offer answer exchange completes. If the web session has already completed the SDP offer answer exchange, or is otherwise not expecting an SDP via patch, the web session must reject with an application SDP patch with a 422. That's the main one. And then I think that's it for that one. It's basically just clarifying the different behaviors for post and patch, depending on whether or not it's a server sent offer or it's a ICE restart or a trickle ICE.
Does anyone have questions on this PR or like clarifying comments? I don't know if we want to merge live here during the session or just like mark it as like.
It's brand new. We probably got to give it.
Okay. Just
What
put
was
it in
the-
notes. Just Sean was saying it's brand new, so like just mark it in our notes here as like no objections, and then we can probably go through them during the IETF week or something like this and merge them.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so that's clarifying error handling. This was one of the things that I should have emailed the mailing list about to get clarity on whether or not we were going to move forward with events as a separate thing or not. But again, apologies, life got in the way. However, I've taken it upon myself as I'm just going to make the pull request and see what happens. I've added myself as an editor because I wasn't in there for the events bit, and then I've added in extensibility requirement. So this addresses number 29. Number 29 issue says, please add some wording into the effect that an unknown fields in server sent events must be silently ignored, and unknown fields in the JSON object included in the data must be ignored. This is so that people can, go and do other things with it without breaking things. So if we go back to the pull requests, so A, I've added myself in as an editor. B, this one line that just says unknown fields in the server sent events must be silently ignored by the client. Unknown fields in the JSON object included in the data field of the server sent event must be silently ignored by the client. Super simple. This is a big one. Actually, the change is actually really small, but I think it's a very big one in terms of what was needed. We all agreed in the interim meeting that we were going to move forward with this, and we decided to move ahead with using a head request so that players can figure out whether or not a URL is a web URL. So I've added an entirely new section around discoverability. I've explained why we need discoverability and how other. I'm not sure whether or not I should put this in here or not. I'm trying to explain that other standards use file extensions, but to enable discoverability for web endpoints, web players and generic video player SDKs may use an HTTP head request to determine if a URL is a web endpoint. When a web endpoint receives a head request, it should respond with a 200 OK and include a content type header of application SDP, so that we know that it's a web URL. I think that's how we decided to do it in the interim, but the notes only said let's do a head request. So I've just used my gut there.
I think Dapeng has a question.
This is to the previous PR regarding the update of editor information. So I think the second author of this draft, Chen Chen, I think he changed his affiliation, so the information is not accurate right now. And
Okay.
also, I think maybe he's not quite active for contributing this draft. Maybe I'm not sure. whether the working group consider to just put one editor or two editor in the front page and put all the others in the contributor section. So just one proposal for the working group to consider.
So my general feeling is that the reason why he was added was because he did contribute a large block of text. So we want to leave him up there unless we hear otherwise. We'll go through the process when we go out to go to working group last call or IETF last call. There was a process where we ask him if he still wants to be listed. So if he wants to change anything or he wants to be pulled back, we can leave that alone.
Oh, okay. So just want to remember that the affiliation is not accurate as far as I know. Yeah, thank you.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it's changed to?
I can ask him.
Oh yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great, because then he could just submit a PR to change it to whatever he wants it to be, and we could solve that. So thanks.
John Lennox, in the head case, do you have to worry about the case where the server knows it's going to return a server counteroffer, and so we'll 405 the head?
That's a good question. So yeah, player does a request to the server. Server already knows that it doesn't support client offers, so already knows that it's going to do. So I think I don't know all the rules for HTTP head off the top of my head. I think it only has to say what a GET request would do. I think a GET request would give a 200 OK. I think, but that's a good question. How about I just write it in as a comment for now, so that we can then go and figure it out. Server sent. What if a server knows it only supports server sent offers? What should the head request do? Is that a fair representation of the question?
Jonathan is nodding his head. Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. I will go have a look and figure it out. I think my gut says that it should still just reply with a 200 OK and then let the process do the process, but I'll go check. So let's quickly go back to that. So yes, replies with the application SDP and gives an example, and then that's it. So super simple, but very important to get into V1, I think. No other comments on that?
Jonathan, thanks again. Sorry, I just realized, I mean, it feels like this could be false positive if somebody is actually has a SDP up on a web as a file on a website somewhere. I mean, maybe that's unlikely, but it's certainly valid.
My gut feeling would be that maybe that's something to document here in the draft as an edge case, but I wouldn't be too worried about like that we need extra handling of that, hopefully.
Normally then any post or head would fail, but any post or patch would fail.
Yes, hopefully. If you don't put it on WebDev.
Yeah. Deal with requested unknown event. So this addresses number 20. Number 20 was one that I made a long time ago. basically, oh yeah, I was asking how do you get your list of events? Sergio told me how you'd get your list of events. It's a link header, and it tells you what events are available. And then I said, what happens if you ask for something that the events endpoint doesn't support? We decided that we should put it into the draft that we should define how that behavior exists. So if we go back, so it clarifies the behavior of how things should behave when an event is requested that is not supported. So again, this is me. So this relies on that other pull request being merged. I can't remember why I did that. Instead of just adding a completely new, I might just go tidy that up in a minute. That's the unknown fields one. There we go. So this is it. When processing the post request to create a server to client event stream, this is following all of the terminology that we already use elsewhere. So server to client event stream. When the web resource must validate that each event type in the JSON array is supported. If it's not supported, then we should return a 400 bad request. And then it says the web resource may include additional error information in the response body to indicate which event types are not supported. I don't know whether or not we want to do that last bit, but as a user of APIs, when something bad happens, I like to be told why. But at the same time, I don't want to define the API for every single, like how everything should act, but maybe we should. I don't know. That was going to be a question for now. How far should we define that? Should we be asking people? Should we be saying, well, it should return a 400, and we should return an error message that says you requested an event that doesn't exist?
Jonathan, are you in the queue for this one, or? My gut feeling is the May is fine, but I'm not sure if anyone else has like opinions on this.
Maybe we should define a generic error message and how we should how a generic error message should be returned across the whole of the spec. I'm just thinking, like, if you were to, like, a generic video player might give back that error to a user. Maybe we want a generic way of giving back a message, but at the same time, I don't want to be too specific, because at the same time, I know what happened with WIT.
I think to me that sounds like we're spending like too much effort on like hopefully what's going to be an edge case. Lorenzo just posted in the chat saying failing the session for an unsupported event seems overkill. We could just return the events we accepted. Kind of like silently ignore an event which is not supported, I guess.
I think that was the original idea that Sergio had. You would literally just take but as a user of the API, I've requested that event. And so if I don't receive any events for the thing that I thought I was requesting, then bad things might ultimately happen because of it. I'd rather be told that the thing you requested doesn't exist. I
agree. Yep.
Cool. Okay, so we'll leave that one as it is. Obviously, everyone can comment on the pull requests anyway. We're not just going to merge them in now. That's dealing with a requested unknown event. Oh yeah, allow partial media acceptance in WEP. So this addresses number 7. Number 7 was about handling codec negotiation errors. And the long and short of it was, so we decided in the interim, for v1, let's allow media partials. Data channels can be dropped from the offer. So if we go back to this, so it adds support for partials. The more I got into writing this, the more it makes a lot of sense. So especially for, say, a server sent offer, take a, even if you ignore data channels, I've asked for a stream. The server says, no, I'm going to offer you what is available, because this server only does server sent offers. The client, so let's say someone that is blind is watching, we don't need the audio track. And so being able to say no thank you to the video, no thank you to the audio in this case, makes a lot of sense. So also it works for data channels as well. So what did we add in? The web endpoint may partially accept the client's offer. I think I need to reword a couple of these. I think we don't refer to things as the web. We refer to things as the web endpoint and the web client. No, I can't remember. I think I need to reword some of this to follow the correct terminology within the draft, because client doesn't make sense. This allows for web endpoint to accept audio and video M lines while rejecting data channel M lines, for example. So we go into more detail, and basically just saying that we can partially accept, and the mechanism that we go through to reject lines, and then there's a new section on it, with how to reject those M lines. And where's the bit that I was trying to get to? So we lay out how to do it with server accepting client offer and client accepting server counter offer. I think this needs to be tidied up a little bit. And then at the end, we declare that the media stream constraint requires that at least one media stream track of any media kind is accepted. And that already exists. It already existed, but it didn't have a link to it. So I've added the link to it.
All right.
Hello, this John. Is this on?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. So rejecting media sections is something you can really shoot yourself in the foot with, especially if you're using bundle and max bundle, which is recommended practice. It's been so troublesome that WebRTC actually has standardized an extension that allows you to always negotiate data channels so that you can put that first in the SDP and never reject it. So be a little bit careful about rejecting stuff. It might be advisable to just negotiate data channels always and keep that as a bundle. Rejecting media sections and bundle gets tricky.
I'm just writing a note so that I remember what was, so that I can come back to it. But I think that's it. I think there's only, out of all of the issues, we're going to ignore define mute unmute extensions because we've taken events out into their own thing. That's always going to come later. We've all agreed on that. I think the only one that I haven't addressed is the better efficiency for server sent events via the data channel. I think at the bottom of that.
I mean, for that, that might intertwine with like what Harald just said. Like, if we actually turn it around to always negotiate the data channel, then we don't even need the whole server sent event thing.
Yeah.
I guess the downside is like that now you require every player to support data channels.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need a backup for that, but then it gets like super complicated if we support multiple ways for getting the events.
I think Tim Panton, who made this original, where is it? Tim Panton made, here we go. Tim Panton made this pull request. And I think within it, it did already handle how you could do it both with data channel and without. I think the end result, he ended up closing it following the discussion at IETF Dublin. He was gonna split it into two PRs, a minimal one, so that you could have an application sent in offers, and then a more extensive PR that applies to the web events stuff. So potentially, let me go and read through his pull request, and we can figure out whether or not it's easy to get to that, first stage where we can do both, but leave all the actual event stuff for the events separate. Does that make sense?
Yep, I think so.
Okay, I will. Let me go write something on this on this issue.
Man, I do not like how GitHub's PRs are not really linked to the issues. I'm assuming like we have 9 open issues. I see 5 open PRs. Does that mean it leaves us with 4 open issues, or?
One sec. Look at Tim's action from IETF meeting. Look at Tim's PR and see how we could allow data channels to be negotiated as well as using SSE. Comment. Right, let's take a look. Yes, so that one is done. That's got a pull request. Backport RFC editor changes from WIP.
I can help with that. I think that should be easier.
Yeah,
I think most of the stuff has actually been backported. It's more like double checking that there isn't anything left.
Yes, exactly. And I think we should just do that once we've merged in all of these ones.
Okay.
Client must silently ignore unknown. So that's done. That's helpful, GitHub. That's got a pull request. That's got a pull request. That one doesn't. That one does. That one doesn't, because it will always be separate. That one does. This one doesn't. Define behavior if published stream ends. I think we all agreed that this should just be an event that gets sent. consensus was that events were meant to be out of the V1 of spec, but we're kind of pulling them in. But I meant to have sent an email to the mailing list to get that consensus that events should be in V1. I will do that, I promise.
Okay, so then looks like we should be able to close at least the majority of the issues pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, since you landed a bunch of these like in the last couple of days, let's give it till at least the end of the week to see if we get any feedback from there. And after that, I think it's onto bigger and better things, right?
Yeah, I think once these are done and we've got and we backport any changes that we need to from WIP, the rest of it are events related, and we can figure out what we want to do for V1 of events versus just leaving for events V2 or V1.A.
All right, then I would suggest we're probably looking at like maybe scheduling another interim before the next IETF meeting to hopefully knock out, if it's still open, the data channel versus server sent event.
So the only question is, do it December or New Year?
Oh, Sean is saying like December or New Year.
December, I guess work quite nicely. We've got this bit more downtime in the holiday season to be able to kind of action things rather than trying to do it after.
We'll do a poll.
Okay. Yep. I mean, we still have all of November, so like if we aim for like, I don't know, first or second week of December or something like this, that might be good. Okay, I will send out a survey, and this time I will put it on my calendar so I don't forget. Sorry about that. All right.
And I will send out an email asking for consensus on how much of events we do in V1, like I should have done.
Sounds good. Any other last minute question, objection? Otherwise, we'll give you some time back. Thank you very much for coming and helping. Have a good rest of your IETF week.
Cool. So if you can help get those, make sure those backports get done.
Yes, I assigned the GitHub issue to myself. So, I'm pretty sure I looked at them already
Yeah, I remember
before.